Hey everyone, my name is Erica. I am the chapter leader here at Mappy Hour Chicago. I'm so excited to have everyone tuning in. We're talking with Katie Lukes today, who is our illustrator, Chicago-based illustrator and artist and muralist here in the city, who helped us with our Maker Series, creating a custom series of maps for all of our chapters across the US. So super excited to have her here. A couple of quick things before we bring her on to talk. Really quick shout out to Sierra Nevada. We're going to be enjoying some of their beers today on the chat. And I also want to just remind people that we're knee deep in field trips in cities across the US like DC and Denver and Seattle and Northwest Arkansas. So check out our site at mappyhour.org if you're curious about what trips are coming up in your city. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Katie and we're going to chat about the maps she made for our series. Hey, Katie.
Hello.
How's it going today?
Oh, good. Enjoying the sunshine today.
Yeah, it's been pretty nice here in the Midwest, I do have to say.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm super excited. I've been a fan on Instagram for a while of your work and picking a local artist like yourself to represent our outdoor scene in urban places like Chicago and elsewhere was super exciting. And everything that turned out, which we're going to get to check out some of the maps, are so cool. But to kick it off, I know you've worked on a number of really cool projects lately with the Bulls and Pride in the Park with the White Sox here in the city. And you're even working with Patagonia, I think, for their new store opening in Chicago. So if you can talk a little bit about who you are and what you do and what folks should know about your work, that would be great.
Sure. Yeah. Like Erica said, my name is Katie. I'm in my 4th year of being a freelance illustrator. I have a background in graphic design. So before I went freelance, I was a graphic designer for a company called Threadless for a couple of years. It's based in Chicago. And I mostly do commercial work or like editorial work. So that entails working with brands, working with magazines, stuff like that. That's another way to kind of describe what I do is visual communication. So I'm basically almost like a writer, but the visual sense, trying to communicate a message through illustration. And it's super fun. I can't believe that I get to do this. And over the years, there have been some fun projects. Like Erica said, I recently worked with the White Sox, which was awesome. And now kind of from that came this Bulls project. I'm designing a custom hat for a game, and they're having a gallery show soon. It's called Bulls Fest for any Chicagoans. It's super cool. It's not this weekend, but the next Labor Day weekend. And yeah, it's really cool to be able to represent my city through art.
That's awesome. I was also walking in, I think, Fulton Market area recently. I think you've done some murals lately, like for restaurants and things, actually on the street. Is there anything to mention there? Because I'm curious just how your work translate from painting, like you're saying with this basketball, to things like a giant mural on the street. What has that been like for you?
Right. Yeah, that's been such a cool process because I don't think I had touched paint since college when I had to, and not that I don't like painting, but it was just like digital illustration became my comfort zone when I was good at. So it was like this new challenge. But honestly, because of the pandemic and being kind of cooped up in my studio, working digitally, looking at a computer screen all day, I was like, I need to get out of here. How can I like translate my work into like being outside? So luckily at the same time, one of my clients, Orkanoy, who they are in the Kimball Arts Center, which is in Logan Square, they're like a brew pub. They trusted me to do their whole entire outdoor facade, and it had been my first mural. And yeah, I learned a lot, but luckily I'm learning it translates pretty well. Like I can just, I'm learning what big scale means for my art and stuff. So it's been a really cool thing to see. It's pretty surreal to see like things that I normally just see on a screen large and like permanent on a building. So really, really cool.
That's awesome. Is your mural still up at Orkanoy?
Yeah, it is. That's still up. And then there's a few more there. Basically, I kind of got tossed down the line to other shops, which is awesome. What else? And then I have on the Addison Pedway. I don't know if you know where that is specifically. It's kind of by the Waveland tennis courts, by the lake. But I just did a mural for Pure Leaf Tea, which was really cool. Also unique because it was installed with like vinyl, so I didn't get to paint it, but it's still cool to see this large thing that I made outside. So
that's so cool. Chicago's chapter here is doing a guided forest bathing kind of urban hike on the 606 next week.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll pass your mural and we'll have to point it out to folks. So super cool.
Yeah.
Well, I really want to dive into these chapter maps that you made for us. Like I mentioned, there's like 6 of them in Denver, DC, Northwest Arkansas, here in Chicago, in New York City, and Seattle. So, I'm going to pull them up and kind of just show folks what they look like while you're talking, but I'd love to just hear, what did this project bring and inspire for you? And like, what was that process like of making these maps for us?
Yeah. So a little background, I guess, maybe to start. I started making these, like, I call them doodle maps because they very much are doodles in map form, in a very loose sense, of course. But it was kind of the one project that before I went freelance, like it really like was a hit, basically. Like, I feel like when you're trying to find your style and stuff, you're like playing this game of hot and cold and figuring out like what sticks, what's working, what's not. And so when I was doing these, it was just like an instant, like, oh, people like these. Because I think people really like to, I think they are prideful in where they're from or where they've lived. And it really seems to connect people. So anyway, knowing that, I've just kind of kept doing them for different places. It's really fun for me to even just learn about places like I haven't been. And on the opposite end, kind of almost marking it as like a journal for places that I have been, kind of like making my own map that includes things that are important to me, but also like other people can recognize and stuff like that. So anyway, I kind of approach these. I mean, like I ultimately like to do city maps. Cities to me are just like, there's so much going on, which is why the doodle style lends itself really nicely to it. You can just kind of like fill the space with the livelihood of the city. Yeah, so I had been to Seattle before, and DC and Chicago. But it was really interesting this time to look at the nature aspect, because I hadn't really like emphasized that before, in particular anyway. So being able to add these things to the city to show like, hey, there's so much to do in a city besides, architectural tours or like, going to different buildings. Like, you can stay outside and do cool things in the city. So this was like a really cool way for me to represent that and like do research and realize there's so much in each city for that.
Yeah, I think you did a great job. Obviously, like, these are so cool. And I feel like, from some of these pictures where it was showing a little bit of your process, like, when you're making these maps, it looks like you're literally like pulling up a Google map and finding these spots. And I know for these chapter maps, we had every chapter leader in each of our cities kind of come up with their top list of the outdoor spots you can find in the urban metro area that they were based. So what is that like, kind of figuring out how to piece together these outdoor spots in urban places like, Denver and Seattle and Chicago?
Yeah, well, there's a little bit of pressure, honestly, or almost intimidation, because like, I don't want to do anyone wrong. I want to represent their city well. even if I haven't been there. So yeah, there's definitely a research component because I want to really get the feel. I want to, yeah, I mean, obviously my work is pretty minimal. So it's like, how can I pare this big idea of this park down to this one element or like the essence of it?
Mhm.
There's that part of it that I guess I've kind of gotten better at with doing so many of these. But yeah, there's always some intimidation there, honestly.
Did you find like themes across cities that were interesting in terms of like the
Mm.
types of urban nature you were finding in these spots?
I think yeah, I was just really impressed, to be honest. Even with Chicago, when you sent me the Chicago list, some of them I didn't know. I mean, granted, they're a little bit further out from the city inherently, but um, it impresses me. I think, yeah, what I learned was that there are so many like hidden things in the city that maybe not everyone knows about. Of course, there are the popular places, but there are so many more places that um, even like seasoned Chicagoans like me don't know about.
Yeah.
And I think that holds true throughout all the maps, all the cities.
Yeah. I mean, it's surprising too. Like, I mean, our city's so big here in Chicago. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, one of my favorite spots is like Steelworkers Park, which is like a climbing area outside that they've turned
Mm-hmm.
these old ore docks into an iron ore, manufacturing spot in the city into like an urban climbing space. And sometimes people don't know that like the Chicago River breaks off into branches and like heads north, and you can actually kayak all the way up there. So I feel
Yeah.
like your map does a good job of just like showing some of those nuances of like, history in the city blended with some of the, lesser known spots that you can adventure in. So I love that, that you included so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. It's like, that's also a cool thing. And I'm sure this also goes throughout all the cities as well. It's like I'm thinking of Chicago, of course, but like you're going down, a street just full of buildings, and you turn a corner and there's just like a beautiful park or like something to do. And I think it's so cool to have the contrast and have both living together.
Yeah, no doubt. Couple more questions for you as we keep diving into
Yeah.
this. So what does it mean for you as like a maker to live in a city and create? Like, do you feel like being in a city brings you closer to inspiration and kind of ideas, or how is the city influenced kind of the way you've become the maker that you are?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. Well, again, a little background. So I'm from Wisconsin. I'm from like rural Wisconsin, definitely not a city. So when I moved here, it was like a kind of a culture shock. And that was, gosh, 10 years ago. But um, I think I I need the city for a lot of inspiration, and that um, I tend to find inspiration from just like the human experience. So like inherently having a bunch of humans around doing and just being able to observe like people or like things happening, just everyday life things, and being surrounded by the hustle and bustle really inspires me. Even with nature, it's like I was thinking about this earlier. I think that I really take inspiration from like people interacting with nature, not just like necessarily nature itself, which yes, of course, but like I tend to, yeah, go towards the humanistic side and like um, humans interacting with nature and stuff like that. So basically, just like I don't know, living, getting out there. It's a good excuse, not excuse. It's a good push, I should say, for me to like get out and do a bunch of things because then I'm really inspired all the time.
Yeah. I was going to ask what your creative process is like. Are you having a routine that gets you inspired as a maker, or any sort of like ritual you do to like, come up with the next big idea?
Mm. Yeah, sometimes that's tricky, especially during the pandemic or being inside. That was certainly harder to do. But um, this might sound weird, but like getting bored, like making sure that I as much as I just said, like getting out and doing things, it's also important to just like be still. So like doing mundane tasks, or like so I have a puppy, so I walk him a lot, probably more than I need to, but like going on a walk with the dog, like it always inspires me, because I'm doing this task that's like not hard to do, but I'm not, sitting there thinking. I'm just, movement helps. Um, so there's a lot of that. I feel like there's a lot of thinking, a lot of like moving around, and then things will happen with ideas, right on time, or right at the last minute, I should say. But yeah, I think just that, plus maybe change is a good word, just like changing it up, switching a routine. As much as routine is good for some things, I think for creative ideas, it's good to just keep moving and keep changing things up.
That's awesome. I wanted to just jump in really quick to mention that people watching from YouTube or Facebook, you can comment on the comment section, and we'll try to get to your questions if there's anything that comes up in the chat that you're interested in getting over to Katie. So definitely on Facebook and YouTube channel where this is live streaming, and then also mappyhour.org. Check out there and leave a comment if you have questions. But I think someone was curious about your upcoming projects that you have. Is there anything that's you're working on that you're excited about, or like kind of in the works soon that you want to talk to?
Yeah, you mentioned it, and it very much pertains to the audience, I think. I'm working with Patagonia right now, which has always kind of been a dream client. And they are opening a store in Fulton Market, which is a neighborhood west here in Chicago. And I think it's kind of a common thing where they like to do something special when they open a store. So I'm designing 3 postcards for them that'll be in a little pack. Yeah, because they like to collaborate with local artists. So I'm all of the sales will also go to like a local org, which is super cool. It's kind of like an urban art therapy sort of org for students, for kids to get out and explore nature in the city, which is amazing. Yeah, so my prompt was kind of open-ended, but I could make art that pertained to that. So I did a lot with kayaking, with the river, with the lake, the pockets of nature that you can find in Chicago. So that was really cool. It kind of nicely blended with this project of making the maps.
Yeah, I don't know which came first or second, but I love that there's this energy around Chicago's outdoor scene, and I'm sure that's the case in other cities too.
Yeah, and I mean, oddly enough too, well, I guess it makes sense, but like with projects that, again, general, it's kind of like with the White Sox, then came the Bulls. It's like people want to see the example, and then once they see it, they're like, oh yeah, I want that for my version. And it's like, if it's something similar, people really like to latch onto that, which totally makes sense. So
super cool. I love that.
Yeah.
Cool. Let me see here. I had another question for you. I'm curious too about like aspiring illustrators or makers. Like we always like to ask the folks on here, because we discovered you and the amazing work you're doing, but some folks might feel the same of just like, how do I break in? Am I a maker that people will get recognized and buy in the future? So if you can talk a little bit about other creators and makers out there, especially people who've been like following our giveaways and our collaborations with other makers, like what advice would you give?
Oh yeah. Well, lots of things. I don't even know where to start. I think one would be, if you're passionate about something, it shows. So let it out, whatever that is. And also just make a lot of stuff, even if it's not good, just make a lot. Like there's really only, that's the only way to get to, furthering whatever you're doing creatively. Just do a lot of it. Experiment, and yeah, don't be precious about it. I remember back when I was a designer and I knew I kind of wanted to go this way because illustration was something that I was so passionate about, but I was like, how can I make it a career? I just I didn't really worry too much about that stuff. I just would challenge myself to either make something every day or a couple things a week. So I guess that could be another aspect of it. Push yourself to, do a series of something, or make up a project for yourself. Basically, don't wait for someone else to ask you to do something. Just do it, and keep going. Yeah, and back to the passion piece. It's like, if you're passionate about maps, yeah, don't wait for anyone, just make them, kind of like I did. Like, no one asked me to do the first maps, I just was curious about it. And so I started making them, and that's how this all happened. So it's like, maybe you can't see the finish line, or like see what it's going to be like years from now, but just like do it if you're interested in it anyway.
Yeah, that resonates a lot. I think like just getting over the mental hurdle of, starting.
Yeah, it's intimidating. Yeah.
Like I totally feel that, like when people, see you getting excited about what you truly love, like that's when this energy builds. So I love that reference.
Yeah.
Cool. Wanted to talk briefly too, just about the giveaway. We always have a giveaway that goes along with these Map Maker series. We've had, a crocheter from last week, Elizabeth, who spoke at our Seattle chapter about how their crochet bags are going towards, social justice initiatives from the sales, but also inspiring new people to try out climbing. And also she makes beer koozies, which is beer can sleeves, which is kind of fun for me, drinking my drinks that I like to do. And we've had folks like Liv from Almonds Right, who is making like backpacking backpacks that are ultralight out of his studio in New York City. So
Nice.
for this one, for this giveaway, I can talk about it, but I open the floor to you first, like to just talk a little bit about what we're going to be giving away this week. And what can people win?
Yeah, they can win maps. Yeah, I mean, and we have a range here. Hopefully, one of them resonates with the winner. I would assume that, if you're entering, you're passionate about one of these places and they kind of resonate. Yeah, but you can win a signed map from me. Maybe I'll throw in some other goodies. Who knows?
Yeah, we're the giveaways open now at Mappy Hour's Instagram, which is Mappy_hour. We have a reel that Katie made and helped us with. And so basically all you have to do is comment on that with tagging someone, following our pages, and then also maybe dropping a note about which map that you find most interesting or relate to most. So that this giveaway is open through Monday by end of day. And so you can definitely enter there. And Katie, I also wanted to call out too, like for folks who haven't yet seen your work and are finding it through Mappy Hour, how do people stay in tune with your artwork? Like, I know you have the Instagram, but what's the best way for people to plug into what you're doing?
Yeah, definitely Instagram. I do have my site, which is katielukes.com, but that's more of an overarching, like, best of greatest hits of projects. So Instagram is the best way to get in touch with me. I basically only use that in terms of social media these days. So that would be best. It's at Luke's Katie. Yeah, last name, first name.
Cool. Sounds good. Well, I'm going to pan through these one more time for folks to check them out. I don't know, is there, maybe you can just comment on each map, kind of what you loved most about making this map, like a speed round.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's go. Chicago. Oh my gosh, there's too much. I like to highlight different neighborhoods, or like one thing from each neighborhood. So you've got like Rainbow Code down in the South Side. You've got the Bean, of course. Yeah. The Chicago dog. Okay, DC. The cherry blossoms. I mean, my goodness, that was probably the most fun to draw on here. Plus the monuments. Because you think of DC, you just think immediately of, politics and the monuments if you're not from there and stuff. So this one was really cool for me to see the other aspects.
Cool.
Denver. I haven't been to Denver, and it's sad. So many. I don't know how I haven't been there, but this made me want to go even more and ride that train through the mountains. This city seems very dog friendly when I was looking everything up. So I had to add the dog in at the bottom there.
Nice.
Cool. Oh man, the 5 boroughs. This one was honestly the trickiest one, just because of the land makeup. But so that part was fun, just like the challenge of figuring out how this is supposed to look. And I've been to New York many times in Brooklyn, but not really outside of there. So it was cool to see, what is basically just in reach of people that live in the big city.
Cool. I love that. And last but not least, we do have, I just want to jump real quick. Northwest Arkansas is coming soon.
Yes.
To an Instagram page near you to see that map. But finally, for our roundup speed round here today is Seattle.
Yeah, Seattle I almost moved there this year. Fun fact, didn't, but I love Seattle. So yeah, seeing all the activities basically like on the water, they're just fantastic. If I would have added further, you get the mountains and everything, but just Seattle alone is, love that city. What's my favorite part on this map? Probably the Elkie Beach area. That was fun.
Yeah, are those like little cabins and stuff?
Yeah, and then you've got like the sea lion down there.
Oh yeah. Cool.
He looks happy. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. That was super fun.
Yeah.
Great. Well, before we let you go, I just kind of want to open up the floor to you. Is there anything else, I didn't ask that you feel like is calling for you to let us know about for your work or other creators, or really anything you want to end us with?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, just being a creative in the city, I feel like, and I don't know if this is like a stereotype for creatives, but we're more introverted. So it's like hard to get us together. So if anyone wants to just get together, maybe it's outside and we're drawing, or I don't even know, just get more of a creative community going. I'd be down. So just let me know. Or if you have a place that's not on the maps that you want to tell me about, I'd love to hear it. Yeah, but yeah, just don't be shy. Reach out, because I like when people do that. So
cool. I love that there's an open door to do that. Maybe we'll have to plan like a, Mappy Hour was born with this idea of just getting together around a table and like looking at maps and talking about upcoming adventures. So spoiler for Chicago, maybe we'll have to plan some sort of like map hangout where we draw and discover new places on maps together.
That'd be really fun to put a map together, and I'll just doodle it and you tell me what to put on it.
Cool. Awesome. Great. Well, I've loved this chat. I'm so excited to see who picks the winning map and it's the winning map. And, I think at future events, hopefully we can get folks these maps in other ways, and have it help inspire outdoor adventure. So thank you so much for joining, and thanks to everybody online. Stay tuned for future Mappy Hour Maker Series, and remember to enter the giveaway through Monday. But with that, we'll let you go. See you, Katie.
Bye.
Bye.